Okay, everyone. Hello and welcome back to another episode of The Light of Insight. I'm your host, Nina. And today we have another very, very special guest. We met in the Dharma Coaching Institute, and we just actually graduated and are now certified Dharma and spiritual life coaches. And we were also in the same weekly meeting group, so I was able to connect with him every week. So that is a spiritual life coach, Alvin. Hello, Alvin.
Hi Nina, thanks for having me on your podcast.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for being here. And the first question I want to ask you is
Hmm.
what is lighting you up right now?
Hmm. I may take a moment to think about it because I'm processing everything. Um, I think it's a lot of embodiment of um, past micro healing of past micro traumas, as well
Hmm.
as overall integration of life in general. I know
Hmm.
that sounds very cliche and broad, um, but I believe that in order for us to find our way around life, it shouldn't just be in the head, right? It should be embodiment in the body, just like how we drive. Once you embody it, you're able to drive and you're able to look around with, noticing the sceneries around you. So I'm doing that right now, and I've been doing that for a couple of months already. And it's been a roller coaster ride, but it's been going well.
Hmm. And I'm really happy that you shared that because the theme of our conversation will be around embodied healing. And that is, I think, a
Mm,
very big, deep topic. So, can you kind of give our listeners an idea of first what you mean by embodiment and what does that mean with healing?
yeah. Embodiment feels embodiment feels like a deep rooted sense of alignment. Um, so we have the brain, the mind, and then we have the heart, right? At least that's the two places that is more pronounced to most people. Embodiment feels to me like the brain is reaching out to the heart, and the heart is reaching out to the brain, and there's a very nice kind of a connection between those two, and they draw a straight line from here. So when you are thinking something, you're able to speak about it without shame or judgment. And when you are deciding to hold back about speaking something, you're able to allow yourself that safe space to not feel like you're depressing something, like an emotion or a word. This is how I actually view embodiment. Um, and over time, it means like you're able to operate as a wholesome, full human being, regardless of the kind of lemons that the world throws at you. And you're using less of your brain to kind of like analyze and think about problems, but you are using both your brain and heart to first feel, okay, what's going on in my life right now? What needs to be looked at? What needs to be healed? Then your brain can come in to kind of like lend its lending hand to say, okay, I recognize this, and then this is how we should do things from a masculine level, like an execution and action level. So you have the framework in your brain, but then you feel it in your heart.
Hmm. So you mentioned that you've been really into this embodied type of healing, and for the past couple months you've been more maybe regularly practicing this.
Mm.
Can you let us know for you what it's been what it has looked like to practice more of an embodied type of healing in your practice or in your day-to-day life.
Yes, for sure. A lot of sourish kind of feeling, like sourish, lemony sourish feeling in my chest,
Mm.
in the solar plexus. So whenever I know that I'm going through some healing process, um, this feeling comes here in the chest and it kind of like resonates in the chest. It's very sour and sometimes it feels very constricting, right?
Mm.
So I go through trials, ups and downs of like a roller coaster, right? Um, Prior to knowing that I'm doing healing work myself, I'm kind of like putting myself on a roller coaster and not knowing that, oh, it's going to go this way, right? And I'm just screaming for life with no direction, right? But now it's like I'm putting myself on the roller coaster and I know that it's going to be up and down. So whenever I go down, I prep myself that, okay, this is me going down right now and just kind of feel how that down feeling feels like. And then when it goes up, right, I know that, okay, we're going up right now and this is how going up feels like. So over time, you know, you kind of like get used to the momentum and the rhythm, and then you know, and you have more clarity as to why you're going through certain things, um, what you're feeling. So from the beginning, it's very hard to kind of articulate in words, okay, what is this feeling? But as time passes by, you need to allow time to be your ally, right? As time
Mm.
passes by, words start to form, and you can then speak about it. And that is a process of alignment, and that's a process of already you're learning how to integrate your healing and your progress. Does that make sense?
That makes a lot of sense. Wow. I really love this idea that you shared too of what embodiment means, like that alignment of the head and the heart. I never really thought of it like that. And then what you just shared too, it sounds like you get more at ease riding the wave, the ebbs and flows of life. You're getting more used to riding that wave that comes with being a human being.
Mm.
So now I'm interested with the energies of embodied healing. Like this, you kind of mentioned the feminine and the masculine energies,
Mm.
but now I'm interested with, I think a lot of us can relate that we want to resist going down
Mhm.
and really feeling those difficult, uncomfortable feelings that come with being a human. But what can you say about why do we resist that type of feeling as a human?
Because of societal conditioning, like since when when we were young, since young, we were regardless of wherever we're living, wherever we're born, there's clusters of cultural differences, right? I
Mm.
remember when I went to Japan a couple of years ago, in a big shopping mall, and then I bought something and I left the shop. And 10 minutes, 5 to 10 minutes later, I was kind of like strolling away from the shop, and I turned around. The person from the shop is still like bowing like 90 degrees, right? Bowing to me, uh, when I left. So that tells me that, oh, yeah, different culture, different countries have different societal norms, right? And they grow up with different teachings. And over time, I learned that um, we are unconsciously being downloaded certain beliefs, and these beliefs, and I think it's universal, that is taught to everyone that the unknown is scary, right? And as we grow up, we're like an onion, so layer upon layer gets layered on top, and then over time, the root of why you're so afraid of unknown gets covered over, right? And it's common that people don't know, or maybe you're still searching, that they're actually afraid of wrong. Regardless of whatever that is, underneath that fear is the fear of the unknown. Right? And difficult emotions and feelings, we're not taught how to process it.
Right.
We're not taught how to deal with it. On the flip side, we're taught how to run away from it.
Right.
Yeah. So, like, this is a controller. We are taught to do this, like, this is a problem, right? And we run away from it. And we run away from it. The further we go, right, the blurrier it gets. You don't even know, like, if I put this 10 meters away, you probably won't know it is a controller. I thought it's probably a handphone, right? But what we should do instead is to go nearer to the problem. And then you can see clearly what this is. And the equation has been upside down all this while. Which is why, on autopilot, we depress negative emotions.
And this is pretty universal as well, I think. We are taught to run away from these emotions, and it's represented in media, in the movies. And I realized that even this past week, I shared with you in a voice note that I cried so much on Friday night because I had so much overwhelmed emotions and a lot piling up on top of me with work, and I'm in a PhD program and I'm starting my coaching business, and I got so overwhelmed with emotions that I knew I needed to just cry for an hour or two. But that night I had my friends over and I thought, I can't let them see me like this. That was the story that was being played in my head, that if they see me like this, they will judge me. They will think I'm weak. They'll feel really uncomfortable in my presence. All these different stories that my mind was battling with. But I was super aware of these stories that I was telling myself. And I knew deep down in my soul that that was just not true, though. Friends are there to support you and be there for you no matter what. And so instead of resisting crying and holding it in and not crying in front of them, I just cried a lot in front of them. I cried so much and I felt very held. I felt very safe. But the stories still kept playing in my head of like, Nina, they're going to judge you after this, or they're going to perceive you as really weak. So I guess my next question would be, what's the first step that we can take in order to just try that initial discomfort of feeling our feelings when we're not used to it? And that could be the sadness, that can be the anger, that can be whatever it is. What can we do in order to just like let go and just feel?
There's so many different other frameworks out there. And I'm just someone who loves to keep things very simple, right? Because if anything that's feeling complicated, heavy, it's very hard for us to execute.
Right.
So two things that we can do. Number one is to bring up our seat of awareness, right? Because when you're feeling it and you're able to be aware of what's going on within you, like 50% of the battle is already won, right? And the second step is to allow, right? Instead of control, because we always want to control our feelings, control how we feel, control our tears, control our joy. But when you think about the word control, it means that you don't have it yet, or you can't control it, which is why you want to control it. It's not within your control. That's why you want to control it. But if you turn it around and just remove control from your dictionary, replace it with a love that comes from a place of power. Because if you're allowing yourself to feel all kinds of emotion, you're in charge. You're allowing yourself to cry. You're allowing yourself to jump for joy. you're allowing yourself to feel anger, right? That is already coming from a place of power without changing anything else.
That's a beautiful framework. I really like that simplicity to allow. That sounds so simple, but of course very hard to do, though. I like, I also like the word permission, like give your permission to feel. That one really helped me a lot.
Yeah.
It was almost like I, my higher self voice on Friday night when I was feeling the feelings and wanting to cry, the higher self voice was, Nina, give yourself the permission. I give you the permission to cry and just release and feel. But the ego voice was like, don't, you're going to be judged. This is weak. Just control it and suppress it. You can immediately tell if you're very aware what is your higher voice and what is the ego voice instantly. But that I think takes a lot of practice. It takes a lot of practice.
Yeah.
So I think whenever it's an energy of like love and compassion, empathy, that is always the higher voice. That's how I perceive it. But whenever it's a energy of like resistance, control, whatever it is, that's where it's like the ego is trying to play its part. What is a good step for people to plant that seed of awareness? Like, how can we start actually becoming aware of what is happening in times of like deep feelings?
What I do for myself and some of my clients is to come back to the breath, right? Always come back to the breath. And you want to do that because you want to create space, empty space between what you're feeling and what actions you're going to take. Because oftentimes when we're not aware, when we feel something, instant action, for instance, let's give an example. If you're feeling angry, you would want to lash out at someone, right? Or you would want to scream, right? Why? Because that gives you instant gratification. Right? Our brain is wired in a way that it seeks pleasure, but it doesn't want pain. So when you're feeling pain, it wants pleasure instantly. Right? So when you recognize that this is your prehistoric brain actually acting out in ways that is normal because it wants to protect you, right? If you have read history in prehistoric times, that's how our brain protects us, right? If you are stray away too far from the tribe, you probably might get eaten by a lion, right? And in the modern world, the lion is all kinds of problems in the world, right? So you want to stay in your comfort zone, right? And our brain always has this fight with itself. Pleasure versus pain, right? So when you react to it, you're giving it to it. So we have 4 ways of tackling emotions, right? We either react to it, we respond to it, right? Or we process it, or we act on it. Right? Acting on it means screaming, yelling at someone, and then you feel instant gratification, but that's just for a brief moment only. And thereafter, what happens is you probably regret your action. Right?
Yeah.
Reacting, responding, acting, all doesn't help, but processing emotions help. Processing emotions means that you recognize what the emotion is. It's nothing but a feeling of a vibration in your body. Right? So when you create space by coming back to your breath, right? taking a deep breath into your belly, out again, right? As many breaths as you can to create the space until your mind calms itself down. You realize that what was a level 10 anger will probably become a level 6 anger, right? And you want to go on a deeper level, you may want to slow your breath down. On a count of 5 seconds, breathe it in, like slow, shallow breath, and on a count of 5 seconds, exhale it out. So the slower you breathe, right, you are actually activating your parasympathetic nervous system, which is the fight or flight response. So when you breathe slow, your body knows that you're in a safe space. There's no need to panic. There's no need to respond, react, or act. So you want to embody that through breath. When you're angry, right, slow, or you can do heavy breathing. And then imagine all the anger and all the heavy emotions turning into a ball of fire. And when you breathe it all out, like forcefully breathe it all out and breathe it all out from your body, and imagine that ball of fire coming out from the system, right? These are some examples of coming back to your breath, right? And then when you feel slightly a little bit more calmer, then you can think about how you want to respond, right? Processing emotion is an ability to sit with negative emotions and not act on it, which means that you're sitting with it and you're just kind of feeling it vibrating in your chest, sometimes shoulder, sometimes throat. Sometimes it makes you feel like you're unable to take a breath. But when you are able to allow yourself to sit with heavy emotions and not act on it, that is already you, right, being courageous, and you giving yourself evidence that you can do very hard things. Your subconscious pick up on that.
This is a really important thing, that you are giving yourself evidence to do, that you can do difficult things like experiencing uncomfortable emotions. I was just thinking about this the other day, Alvin, that our minds are evidence building machines. We need solid evidence. We need evidence. So the more that you process and the more that you build the evidence that, oh, I was actually okay. I actually felt so much better after processing my emotions. Okay, evidence. I'm going to do that again next time. It is so important. I think that's interesting that you're mentioning this, because I was talking with a friend about this yesterday, about we need solid evidence. It helps. It makes sense as humans. We do our research when we want to buy the product, right? So we look at all the reviews. We need evidence to know that the product is of good quality. So we look for evidence. We look for everything. So, okay, for processing, I want to go back to this idea of what we started with the embodied, like head and the heart. How, I was thinking about this, how can you be aware of what is playing out in a decision, like whether it's the head or the heart? Because we talk about like head and the heart practices, like in the Dharma Coaching Institute, or helping clients when making a big decision. Let's see what our head's saying. Let's see what the heart is saying. But sometimes it gets a little bit like, whoa, what is happening? I don't know. Especially for people that haven't practiced embodiment work before, or don't even know really, haven't really connected to the sensations inside the body. So what can we tell our listeners of just a simple somatic embodiment practice that they can take with them? Do you have any ideas?
Yeah. You've mentioned it earlier, whether it's contracting or expanding, right? When it's constricting, when it feels heavy, oftentimes it's your lower brain, which is not your higher self, responding. Slightly, the brain is responding, not the heart. So there's two ways that I make sense of it. The mind chatter is oftentimes louder So it's screaming at you, right? It's yelling at you to take action, right? And the heart messages are often softer, and they're silent, kind of silent whispers, and they nudge you at the back when you're showering or when you're just out for a walk. And then all of a sudden, you just talk to yourself, oh, maybe I should go for an ice cream, right? Those are the heart messages. And more often than not, they can be illogical, right? And the brain messages are oftentimes very logical because I do this because of that, right? If I don't do this, what will other people look at me? What will other people think about, right? And then all these stories start to play out.
Yes. I'm thinking about, so with my messages from the heart, it's exactly what you said. It's a very soft, like a little gentle, like warm hug. It feels like in the body I feel it very much here, and like also in my solar plexus, the womb, all those chakras down there. Like I feel it very much in
Yeah,
here, this part of my body. But when it
yeah,
is the head, the mind chatter, it's so much more like fast paced. It's so much more
yeah,
fast. And the heart messages are slower. It's the gentleness, it's the softness, it's the feeling of safety and just wholeness. But the
yes,
head is the energy is so different. It's very, very different. I think this is a powerful practice though. Like very, very powerful for people to understand that if you're able to discern between the head and the heart, your life trajectory can be very different
yes,
in a very powerful, aligned, authentic way,
yes.
you know?
And most people,
Completely.
when they're like very new to this, um, it's easy for them to try and look for evidence, but oftentimes they don't know that they're looking at the wrong places because they start asking their friends who are probably not aware of these practices, right? And then the friend will tell them you're overthinking things, and then they go back into whatever they were doing, right? So you need to ask the right person. Like if you're sick, you go to the doctor, right? So um, and there will be a process, there will be a phase, which time is layered and wraps around that because you need to allow time for integration to happen. You can't
How
expect things to
much
be like
time?
instant, right?
Yeah, true.
How much time?
How,
Nobody knows.
yeah, everyone's different, right, with the
Everyone is
time.
different. Yes.
This is really interesting. Going back to what you said, of course, you ask a doctor to help you when you're sick or you break a bone. If you ask, if you talk with a friend that is more of a, let's say, a logical, practical person,
Yeah.
chances are they're going to be saying, you're overthinking, you're over dramatizing this, just,
Mm.
it's okay. So, what do you suggest for people? I already know the answer, but what do you suggest for people so they have a space to like process emotions, know who can they talk to about this kind of stuff that isn't their friends, maybe that don't understand this?
It's hard, but talk to yourself
Mm-hmm.
because how often do you recognize your own voice and talk to yourself and build a relationship with yourself, right? Most people find it easy when they have a problem. They look outside, right? The equation has always been upside down. The journey is not outwards, it's not external. The journey is inwards, inside of you, because you have the answers all along. And each of and every one of us have a different life, which means that We have different contextual situations in our life. So your problem may not be my problem. My advice may not be helpful for you. You know what is helpful for you because of what you've been through in your life. And when you make out of that, however many years that you've lived through, the lessons that you've learned, right? If you are able to see those as not pitfalls and not wrongdoings, but lessons and breadcrumbs that will eventually lead you to your higher self purpose, right? That is the key. And the journey has always been to allow yourself to go on a quest to find that key, that lockbox inside of you. Because when you're able to do that, combined with having that awareness of what is the heart message and what is the brain message, you will then be able to give yourself some courage to take that heart message and manifest it into something that is you can feel and execute it from actions to have an outcome. But prior to having the courage, you must first allow yourself to come face to face with fear. Because courage don't come instantly because you want it. You have to face your fear first, right? You want courage because you fear something else. That's why you want courage. So you have to face your fear, get past that fear, then courage will come to you and say, I'm coming with you on a quest. Let's go look for the lock, the key to the lockbox, right? When you're able to do that, then you are able to build self-confidence to say that, okay, this is what my heart is telling me, but it looks illogical if I put it side by side with what the world is telling me. Right? When you have those two, most people doubt themselves. So that's when self-doubt comes in. And then they shrink back into the hermit shell again. But when you're able to already face fear and know what you're doing, why you're doing, and you have courage, you have confidence, you're able to silence the noise. Right? And then go out and do whatever your heart tells you to do without judgment, without the fear of the unknown. Right? And when you're able to do that, you're creating momentum. And when momentum happens, you're like a magnet, right? Attracting the things that you are projecting.
Yes.
And then you see good things manifesting because of your decision to take that plunge, take that one step to fulfill your heart messages because of that alignment. And this is the reason why we always hear about your world is a mirror, because what you are inside, what you look inside will be projected outwards. So if you're angry, you'll project anger. If you're joyful and aligned, you'll project joyful and alignment. And when you're joyful and aligned, you will attract joyful and aligned things to your life. And there's magic in all of us, and there is magic in the process if you believe it.
Yes, if you believe it and if you just allow it, just allow. I think the key word in the conversation with you today, Alvin, is just allow. Let it be. Just try not to resist. And I know, I understand it's very hard because I resist a lot still and I have a hard time letting go. But the more I let go and build that evidence that it actually serves me,
Yeah.
the better I am each and every time. The better I am at discerning between what I truly desire and what society has conditioned me to believe I want. It's just a practice.
And I can see that it is your path to walk those struggles, and it's your path to have those resistance. You must have it, because if you don't have it, we will not be here talking about this today. It is the contrast of things, because when you have the dark sky, then you are able to see the moon.
Yes.
So if you remove the dark sky, which is all your negative emotions, what meaning would joy have? There's no meaning.
There's no meaning. That's why I love the idea of just exactly, you can't have light without the darkness. You can't have joy without the pain and suffering. Being able to expand your bandwidth of human emotions, the painful, the happy, like
Yeah.
everything will become so boring if you're in this little frame of human emotional experience. But everything becomes so much richer and deeper when you're able to just surrender to the opposite sides of the spectrum, the rock bottoms and the hell, but also the bliss and the joy and everything that comes
Yeah.
on the other side. But it's that principle of non-duality that I love so much in Buddhist
Yeah.
philosophy, and that Thich Nhat Hanh writes a lot about in his books too. It's like we just must accept that life is not always going to be rainbows and butterflies all the time.
Yes.
And that's beautiful in itself. And when I was crying so much this past Friday, in the midst of crying, there was so much beauty in it. I felt sad. I felt scared. It was painful. But I felt like this was such a beautiful moment in time at the same time. Like, I think we forget that emotions are complicated, and they can be wrapped around and conflicting at the same time as too. Like, you can have beauty, but also so much pain at the same time. Yeah, I love this conversation that we're having, and I think it needs to be one that more people have, because the amount of times that I have felt, just like you said at the beginning, I never learned about this. The amount of times that I never even thought to process, like, what does it even mean to process emotions? I didn't learn about this until this past year. And I'm 27. Like, if we teach our young generation that it is okay to feel, it is not weak to cry, you will be safe, and it is just part of the human experience, and that is beautiful. I think this will be able to live in such an incredible world. We already have such a beautiful world, but even more rich and beautiful with people that are just conscious that it is okay to just feel and not resist. I'm very passionate about this topic. Very, very, very passionate. So I do want to ask you this one with letting go. I think this is a very popular phrase that's very common in the healing discourse, right? To let go. What can you say to people that, because when a phrase like just let it go is so popularly used, meaning starts to detach from it, like it becomes almost meaningless. But how can we provide meaning to people and a little bit more context to that energy of letting go, surrender?
It sounds like a simple question, but there's so many layers to that. And I want to share this with your listeners, just like what I shared with you yesterday. If you hold on to, if I give you a plastic cup, you know, those kind of like very thin kind of plastic cup you get when you go for parties, right? Where you can crush in the hand. If you hold on to that plastic cup and then pour hot boiling water onto the cup, instantly you'll feel pain, right? So how do you let go?
You just let go.
You just let go, right? The more you hold on to it, the more painful it feels. So you can't think your way out of letting go. You have to let go by letting go. You can't think your way out of feeling relaxed. You have to relax by feeling, to feel relaxed. You can't think your way how to walk. You have to walk first so that you can walk.
Right.
Right?
How do you, so yes, and I love this example of the boiling water into the cup and just simply just letting go. I think this also relates back to the evidence that we were talking about with humans
Yes.
just needing more evidence to know that it will be okay after whatever it is let go.
Mm.
Because it's that initial just like push off the cliff into the ocean.
Correct. And it feels very difficult to do because of how, remember, our brain is always trying to keep us safe, right? And most of us don't know what it feels to let go. So it's again treading into the space of the unknown. But if you can think about it this way, we are living the unknown every single second of our day. Like if I go to sleep yesterday night, I probably won't know if I can wake up today to talk to you. How do I know when my heart is going to stop beating on me? We're living the unknown every day, but we're just unconscious of it. I have been working through the unknown for 39 years of my life, but I'm not conscious of it until recently. And then when I am starting to be so conscious of it, everything in my life become very vibrant. Even the flowers of the colors of the flowers, right, become more vibrant, right? I hear the chirping of the birds more. It's all awareness. And when you talk about letting go, if you're not ready to let go, then don't. Because if you force yourself to let go, that is kind of like a toxic positivity, isn't it? You're forcing yourself, and imagine forcing yourself to let go, right? Think about it like a beach volleyball, right? Try to push it down to the ocean, right? The water. You feel the resistance. You're not ready, right? So when you let go, what happens? It will spring up from the water and probably hit you in the face. Okay, the more you resist, the more it comes up at you. But if you want it to be at peace, you just let go and allow it to float on the water. And peace it is, just floating on the water, doing nothing to you. There's no resistance, there's nothing. Because you just allow it and you let go, allow it to be on the water. Right? So back to the question is, if you're not ready to let go, then don't. Allow yourself to feel the heavy emotions because you're not ready to let go. So don't rob yourself of that experience of feeling negative emotions because it is the universe way of telling you that you have to go through this in order for you to understand that. There's no leapfrogging from here to here. There's no shortcut. Which is why the kind of work that we do, and it's important for us to tell our clients that it is not our journey, but your journey. We're just here to shine a light for you in the dark room and tell you that, hey, at the corner of the dark room is your answer. Now you can see it, but you have to walk towards it, not us. So when you're ready, fully ready to let go because you have processed the heavy emotions, you see how all this wraps around itself and intertwine, all these concepts. And when you're able to fully allow yourself to process all the heavy emotions and one day you tell yourself that, okay, enough is enough. I understand why I'm feeling painful now and I'm ready to let go. That is when you let go. Because if you're holding on to the plastic cup, you're not ready to let go. You need all kinds of pain to tell you that it's painful until you let go of the cup. Because some people have higher pain tolerance, right? They can hold the cup for a long time, right? Until that person feels that, oh, it's so painful, I have to let go, then you let go. Same thing, you have to feel the emotions, and sitting with discomfort emotions, having all this negative, positive, and mix and match of different emotions is our superpower as human beings. I don't think there's any animal that can feel the kind of emotions that we feel. the closest would be maybe dogs or dolphins, right? Or chimpanzees. But I believe that we are on the highest rung of feeling emotions, right? All kinds of anxiety, happiness, joy. And this is a superpower because you don't want to numb yourself of feeling sadness. Because if you are like that, one fine day, unfortunately, if you're going to attend someone's funeral, you might not be able to be in the right state of mind. You might go into the funeral smiling, and that's not normal because you want to go into the funeral being able to feel joy deep down because this person has probably lived a full life, yet you want to feel sadness because you won't be able to see him or her again. You want to have that ability, the capacity to hold that space. So build yourself a container so that you can have all these emotions in there when you need it, when time comes, when life situation calls for it, you can pick it up, right? And say, okay, this is time to be sad. I'll pick up sadness, I'll process it, I'll allow it to sit with me, right? Because that's a human thing to do. So then it comes back to the point of why are we depressing negative emotions? Because the more we depress, the more we resist, the more we don't like it, the more we are unable to process it, the more we can't be normal.
Right.
And you realize that our body is so intelligent that when you cry and when you allow yourself to let down everything, your body is intelligent enough to start sobbing, and it cools down by itself, right? And that's your body telling you that, okay, you've let down everything, it's fine now, you're safe, right? So the solution is to just cry it out.
Yeah. This is so good. Just the saying that comes to mind is, if you resist, you persist. It persists. If you resist, it persists. And I think the metaphor of the balloon or the beach ball in the ocean, it just keeps coming up. What I keep thinking is, can you let go many times, or is it like a big, does letting go mean all of it, whatever the situation is, it's all okay, let's give an example, like a relationship, an ex partner. I feel like I have let go many times of an ex partner, but still sometimes it comes back. So does that mean that I haven't let go yet?
It can mean that. So what does letting go mean to you? What are you making letting go mean for you? Do you want to
I think,
forget?
no, I don't want to forget. I think letting go means to be finally at peace with the situation, be truly at peace. And sometimes I feel like that with this ex-partner, but sometimes I still have that pain inside my heart about. And so that's why I don't know if it is a clear question, but if it does letting go happen sometimes just very sparsely, different moments.
Yes.
Yeah?
And
Okay.
likely because you have not asked that one question enough. And that one question, we all have it in our pocket, which is why? You have not asked why enough times to go deep down. That why are you
Why
feeling
am I?
pain,
Mm-hmm.
right? Why
Yeah.
can't you let go? Why do you choose to think that way? Because our thoughts are optional, right? If you want to be happy, think of a happy thought. You can instantly feel happy.
Right. Right. Mm-hmm.
But why won't you do it? And there's a deeper reason underneath. Because the more you peel the onion, I like to use this onion analogy. When you peel an onion, there's many layers, right? And as you're peeling it, because it stings your eyes, it's so painful, you cry. Just like us killing ourselves. You need to cry, right? And the moment you get to the last few layers and you think that I'm getting to the core of it, then you start peeling and peeling and peeling. Then you realize that there's no core.
Wow.
Then you start to think to yourself, what am I doing? Why am I wasting all this time? But the beauty of it all, and the lesson here is to not find the core of the onion, but to bring a pan, turn on the heat on the stove, throw the onion in the pan, and start frying it. Because when you fry the onion, you can smell the fragrance. That's what the whole process is for. The fragrance of that lovely fragrance, of that awareness, that, okay, I'm peeling this onion because I want to fry it, because I want to smell the fragrance, because I want to eat it. There's no core. And that fragrance, that nice smelling smell of a cooked onion, whether you want to caramelize it or you want to deep fry it, right? That is pleasure, that is joy. And most people stop at the core and they realize that, why am I doing with this onion? But they don't fry it, they don't cook it. That's why they don't smell it.
You have so many good analogies, Alvin. I really like this one a lot. Oh, this has been such an amazing conversation. I really appreciate how, and since I've met you, I really appreciate how well you're able to explain difficult concepts. And I'm so happy that we met in the Dharma Coaching Institute, and
Same here.
I'm so happy to keep like learning and talking about this kind of stuff from emotional healing, embodiment work, concepts in Buddhist philosophy, like letting go. Like I'm just so excited to keep on this journey and path, and so happy that I met you. I mean, really, I'm really happy that I met you.
I've got one more thing I want to share with you is that if you don't like your reasons for making or choosing whatever choice, that will be a problem. Regardless. Because it's not on your own terms. But if you like your reasons, for making a choice, even if it's an unpopular choice and you love it, deep down in your heart you know why, then there's no problem. So the problem arises only when you hated or you dislike your reason for doing something that is not on your own terms.
Right. Right.
So
And this
find
could
that
be
alignment.
that's alignment. That's key. It's really key to think about, is this on your own terms, or
Yeah.
is this someone else's idea of like happiness or success? So that's definitely not your term. Oh, okay. So where can my listeners find you and connect with you?
They can find me at Instagram at stay underscore in underscore the center, right? So STAY underscore IN underscore THE underscore CNTR. I know it's very long, but I've had a hard time to find a username that is not commonly used. So that's my Instagram, or you can find me at my website, coachingwithalvin.com, as in CoachingWithAlvin.com, one word.
Great. And then I'll also link that in the show notes as well, so people can click on it and get there. So thank you so much again, Alvin, for your wisdom and insights and your presence today. I really appreciate you being here as a guest.
Thank you for having me. It's been my pleasure.
All right. And thank you so much for everyone that tuned in. And we'll see you next week on another episode of The Light of Insight. Bye.
Bye bye.